Hello. In this video, we are going to add the feature in our Guess the Number game where you can make multiple guesses. So right now can make guesses over and over again, but the random number keeps changing every time you click that button. So it's really not set up to let you try again in any real way. So I'll try to make that happen. So we want to think about when something should happen. It always kind of comes down to what the events are, because that then tells us what function they should go in. So when should we check to see if the user got it right or wrong? Well, that should still happen every time you click on the button. Um, when should you deduct the wager, increase their coins, or deduct from their coins? That should happen every time you click on the button. So that is all going to stay the same. But what shouldn't happen anymore is how a random number is chosen every time you click on the button. We want that to happen at a different time. Because this code is inside this function, that's the on click for the button, it is happening every single time. So that's a pretty easy solution. Just take the line of code that generates that random number and just don't put it inside that function. So if I move it outside the function, so before it, but it's not inside of it, now that won't happen every single time. Right, so it just generates a random number, whatever it is, and then that is the number that it's going to go with. So I think it makes a lot of sense then to do the same thing with the minimum and maximum. So just go ahead and grab those, move those out as well. It doesn't really have an effect, but I think this just looks better. All right, and then I just need to reorganize the code a little bit. Notice what I did was I used the word max before I even declared it. So this should be before that line. There we go. Just reorganizing like that to move those up here. Because really, when should I define the maximum and minimum? Once at the beginning of the game, not continuously. So that doesn't make sense to be inside that function there. All right, so for testing, I'm going to move this up just a little bit to 5, and now see what happens. So if I guess the number 3, kind of curious if I wagered none. Yeah, I haven't really handled that situation there. Yeah, got to start over. But right now, I'm going to avoid that error. All right, that is kind of interesting. I would think that this would work. So I'm going to bring back in, I had just commented out my console.log inside the guess button click. So turn that back on, console.log, the guess, and then the random number. So can I see what that actually looks like? Guessed a 3 and it was a 4. Oh, well, obviously this makes sense. I should be changing my guess. I know that it's a 4 because I can see it in the console. So then I win. Okay. Yes, that makes sense. I should have been changing my answer because it's the same. Yeah. All right. So that is working to where it does at least allow me to make multiple guesses. All right. So then I think what would be good is kind of limit the number of guesses. Eventually, you should be done. You shouldn't be able um, to do those anymore. So I'm going to make a variable here that keeps track of how many guesses I have left. So let guesses left equal, let's say 3. Let's say I get three guesses. And that's something that happens at the beginning of the code. Defines that I start with 3. But then every time I click on the button, well, I've just made a guess here. So I should take guesses left and decrease it. Minus equals 1. So just decrement that once. I've used up one of my guesses. But then that doesn't really make a difference. There's nothing magical there. I can still guess as many times as I want. It's hard to tell, but I need to actually use that variable in some way. So I basically have to wrap this whole thing in an if statement. There's different ways to do it, but that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to make an if statement, or whether, I've clicked on the button, but whether I should actually um, process that guess or not. If guesses left is greater than or equal to 1, I think that's the right logic, because I reduce it later. So if guesses left is greater than or equal to 1, curly braces, and then I basically just put all that code inside of here. So I think I'll actually do that. Select all this code, Control X to cut. Notice how I'm not cutting the very last curly brace. So all that code that was there, now I'm just placing that into this if statement here. I'm doing a quick edit, tidy code, organize things a little bit better for me. Yeah. I might undo that actually. Just to show you what I could do instead is select all the stuff. I really want to tab it over. So select all that stuff, then just press the tab button. Should work out. I think this I actually shift tab to bring that back to the left one. Okay, yep, and then this one is one tab too far. All right, so now I have it tabbed more like I want. I kept my enters here. Right, so that should make it so that I can't guess anymore. So if I run this code and I make sure to actually place a wager here. Notice how my coins aren't changing anymore. I've already used up my 3 guesses, so I can't keep making guesses here. All right, so we have that in place. So what we'd want to do in the future probably is like reset it, like let me pick a new number then, and then go from there. And also, I think it should be to where your wager, like your reward that you get, kind of depends on how many guesses you took. So that'd be good to do in future videos.